Hi, and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and with me today, some very special guests, Engineer Russ Smith and Administrative Specialist Denise Krizo. And so we have some challenges with our two guests today. Russ has been on the podcast a number of times, and he likes to tap the table. So we're going to have to remind him not to do that. And Denise is a mover. She likes to dance around a lot, but what we're going to talk about today is the one time where she wasn't moving as much. I think it's an important topic. So, and one of the messages we really want to get across to the community here is the importance of early CPR, community CPR, and placement of AEDs. AEDs are vitally important. You see them in a lot of commercial structures today. I think there's other programs that we can look at and discuss that may be appropriate for our community, but absolutely vital in those precious moments after someone goes into cardiac arrest. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Denise agrees a lot. So on December 3rd, Firefighter Angel program was wrapping presents at our warehouse at the Carter campus. And you were both there volunteering, as you do quite often. And just so happens...
That was my first volunteering.
That was your first volunteering?
She's honest.
It was... Timing is everything. Timing and location is everything. Yeah. And so walk us through that day. Walk us through your morning. Walk us through the decisions that led you to be in that place in that moment.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first? I had promised for many months that I would go and volunteer. And the 2 days before, I broke my iWatch and didn't do anything about it on Saturday. So Sunday, about literally not even 2 hours before the gift wrapping, we decided to go look for, my husband and I decided to go look for a watch for me. And I couldn't find what I wanted, 2 stores. So I had this decision to make. I'm looking at my not my watch, I'm looking at my phone. Do I go and do the volunteer? Do I really want my watch? And there was a whole thing with, and I promised I'll go volunteer. So I had my husband drop me off, and we'll run around after. So that's how I ended up there. And it was kind of like, well, okay, I'll do this. That's what I should do.
It is an Apple Watch.
It is an Apple Watch, and I did miss it for the day that I didn't have it. So, yeah. But I thought, no, it's better to do this.
Yes.
And so that's the decision. And
So what you said is that volunteering is a good thing.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
Did.
It's good to be selfless. Actually, that was the big thing I took out of it later, and that's kind of what I've been thinking about for a couple months now, is really when it comes down to it, is being a little more selfless.
Right.
A little less consumer.
So to get to the punchline on part of this, so everyone understands why you're sharing your stories, is because, Denise, you went into cardiac arrest that day. Russ, you were a paramedic that was there. Mm-hmm. And go from there. You're in the right place at the right time, but what did your morning look like?
It was actually very similar. I had just gotten off shift, so I was tired. I believe I was running calls all night. So when I came home, I was almost kind of hoping much the same that, my wife had been asking, and telling me, we are gift wrapping on this date. Make sure we're signed up for it. She volunteers with the Firefighter Angel. She does the angel stuff. She looks forward to it.
And you don't tell Mandy no.
And I don't tell my wife. Yeah, that's right. No. You have to learn that. Married 20 years, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I get home, and I'm kind of hoping that she's not going to mention it. She's been asking, you got us on the list, right? Well, I control the list for the sign up, so I figured if she asks the last minute, I'll just add us to it. So I get home, and she asked me, hey, we're going, right? And yep, we're going. Did you add us to the list? Well, no, but I will right now. I go to the list, and it's full. So I just add a couple more spots, thinking no big deal, and we'll show up. So we get the kids ready. We head into the Firefighter Angel, and Tammy, who does an awesome job with the Firefighter Angel, the reason she's able to do an awesome job with it is because she's very detail-oriented, very stringent. So
retentive.
That's a good word for it, yeah. So when we got there, we were not in her plan. And we were 2 extra people that she was not accounting for. And kind of was surprised, Russ, why are you guys here? What's going on? And I said, hey, we're here to help. And to her, it kind of threw her off, right? And I said, don't worry about it. We added a couple spots to the list. That's what you get for giving me control of the sign up. And
Right.
and we're here. We're going to help, and we'll fit in wherever we can. So that kind of went. We started rapping, having a good time. We were sitting there with Charla and Travis. And I was moving totes around all
Right.
morning, so I was used to people calling my name like, hey, Russ, can you help with this? Can you help with that? And that's how this whole event kind of started. Travis and I were sitting
Right.
across from each other.
And that's
just
Captain Travis Smith, also a paramedic.
Yep,
And his wife, Charla, who's a nurse.
Correct. And all of a sudden, joking back and forth, I hear someone say, hey, Travis, hey, Russ. And I thought it was to get up and move a tote. So I kind of got up real slow and started walking toward where the voice was coming from. And I heard somebody say, I think she's stroking out. And firefighters, we have a weird sense
And
of
that
humor.
would be having a stroke.
Yeah, I didn't take it that way. I thought it was more of a joke, like
Right.
amongst friends or something. Well, it
Maybe
wasn't.
like Tammy is stroking out because you showed up and threw her world off.
That's along the lines of what
Right.
I was thinking. But I come around the corner and I see Denise hunched over forward and appears to be unconscious. So initially I was thinking, well, maybe she's legitimately having a stroke. Cammie Hubler, who's one of our new firefighters.
Yep. Brand new recruit.
Yep.
She hadn't graduated yet.
No, she was still in the recruit academy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she came running over and had first contact with you. And basically from there, I want to preface it
I
by
don't
this.
know what happened after that. Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen each other since the event, so this is also kind of unique and special for us.
We had a plan. They didn't act on the plan. The plan was her first day back, we wanted to ask you to come in, and we are going to put a chair behind her just as a joke because we know she has a great sense of humor.
I do.
I'm really glad. I was worried about doing this coming in, thinking,
No,
are you
I'm
sure she
good.
wants to do this? But you do have a great sense of humor. So in any case, Cammie and I took her to the floor, and I realized it was not a stroke. You had what we call agonal respirations.
I was a butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the butterfly sound. Is that?
I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't fly away that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Can I tell you my last two thoughts,
Yes,
though?
please do.
Yes.
Okay, so before I put my head down on the table, I knew I was going to black out because I was having like this like fuzzy around, and I go, oh, I'm going to black out. I should have had lunch. I swear to you, I was thinking I should have eaten. I didn't eat enough breakfast, and I didn't drink enough water. Those are my last two thoughts before I blacked out.
Wow.
No pain, no nothing. That's. I think that's what, after watching my husband have his heart attack in a lot of pain,
Right.
I had nothing. Mine was like, oh, I'm just gonna pass out now, and that was it.
And I
So
think
that's
a good
that's
takeaway
the
for
thing.
Our audience, the viewers out there watching, especially that when I went through medic school, that was a big takeaway was females don't present with the same symptoms that males do, where males
Right.
typically have the crushing chest pain, the Levine sign. The females don't typically present with that,
Right.
and they may not have any symptoms at all. So that's very
Yeah.
in line with.
That's
to
why
scare
when
the
I
public,
woke
Russ.
up, yeah. Well, and when I did come back, I know I'm skipping ahead a little, and I looked at him, and he told me, I really thought, get ready for the beep button. I really thought he was bull. I did not know anything had happened. I thought I just passed out, and how embarrassing.
Right.
That's what I was embarrassed about.
That's about the look you had too.
I know. I was so.
Well, didn't she say, I'm going home? I'm just going to go home?
Yeah, so there was a period where she was kind of confused and not really, certain what had occurred.
Oh yeah, I'll just
We
go
took
home.
her to the floor and obviously realized that she did
Right.
not have a pulse, so started compressions right away. I was kind of in disbelief at that moment, to be honest, because behind me were all of the wives, kids of our firefighters.
Yeah.
And so at that moment in time, I was thinking, we really need to get everybody out of here because typically the outcomes
Not good.
are not good.
Right.
Yeah.
Despite our efforts.
Right.
And I think what made the biggest difference here was the fact that one, it was recognized immediately. Compressions were started
Immediately.
And
The AED, I mean, that's the one thing is you could have been doing compressions for hours and it would not have helped me
Wouldn't have done
other than
anything. No.
keep my
Right.
blood flowing. But I needed this shock
Yep.
to get back into, a rhythm.
Yeah,
so
fortunately
that's
enough for you.
yeah.
We had a monitor there.
Right.
Had several, right? Isn't that the warehouse?
Yeah.
Isn't there a lot of them?
It's at the warehouse, so there's a lot of medical equipment. There's other narcotic medications, ACLS drugs, all the things that you would need
Right.
immediately available.
Right there.
Right. Yeah. Location.
Cammie, she got on the phone. I said, well, that was the other thought that I had. And for those that haven't been through CPR, first aid, those courses, they teach you activate the 911 system, right? And that was one of the first questions that I asked. Has anyone called 911? And in fact, nobody had. So Cammie put her phone at her knee and called 911, called her dispatch. So we got that
I was
coming.
out. I'm sorry, I couldn't
You don't
dial
remember the story.
911 for you. Sorry.
And then Travis had gone to get the monitor, so we at least had that piece of equipment.
Right.
Charlotte was sitting across from me, who was the nurse, and started compressions. The monitor was there very quickly, within a minute, I would say. We threw pads on you and recognized the rhythm. You're in course VFib, and shocked you and started compressions just like you're supposed to, right after shocking you. And
Then I
to
opened
my
my
surprise,
eyes.
you opened your eyes and started talking to me.
Well, I was slow to talk, but I was able to do that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's the quickest I've ever seen somebody recover from cardiac arrest.
I'm a talker. Anyone in my family will tell you she was quiet for 3 minutes.
I've never seen that. I've never been there and worked a cardiac arrest and had somebody come back that quick. Had a couple of saves in my career, but never anything like that. Talk about, so called 911. They know it's one of our folks at the training center. They dispatch a unit. Where was 50 at that moment? Engine
So
50.
there were a lot of events that transpired that a matter of happenstance, I would say. I mean, just between your story that you just told me, I found that part out today.
Yeah.
My story for the morning, and then also when we called 911, 50 was on a move up on their way to Dewey, from what I understand, and they were
Right.
just a
They
few
were
miles
close,
from the training
yeah.
center. So they arrived right after we had pulses back, and so from there we established IV access and got you going.
Well, and I gave Chief Rose when I came up. The first thing I remember, Chief Rose was standing kind of there. You were here. And Chief Rose goes, "What's your husband's name?" So I tell him. And then, "What's his phone number?" So he called my husband, took 3 calls. The first time he's like, "Spam." Second time he's like, "Okay." Third time, "Oh, this guy is persistent, whoever he is. Hello." And then he found out it was me. And he's the one that has health things.
Right.
And I'm always the healthy one. So that's why he's like, "What? What happened to her?" So he didn't really fully believe it either. When he got
To be
the phone
honest,
call.
I had to look at the strip again and is this really what happened? And because you came, like you said, you came back so fast, and not only that, but you were totally coherent. Where, a lot of times we'll pulse is back, but they're not coherent for quite some time after the fact. But for you, I asked you who you were, and you told me, and then I said
Again, I thought you were kidding. I'm like,
Yeah.
why is he doing this?
I said something along the lines, I think your chest might be a little bit sore. We started compressions on you. I had to shock you. And you were almost back in shock again in disbelief.
I did not feel the compressions. I was out enough that I didn't feel the compressions. I did not feel the shock. I think that happened on Sunday. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I was at the hospital, and I woke up probably at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I woke up with a jolt. That was the memory that my brain's like, "Oh, by the way, this happened." And I woke up, I've only had the one, but it wasn't painful.
Right.
But I did wake up with my arms out and my legs going out like a
shock.
like a shock.
Wow.
But it didn't hurt, but I think that was my brain saying, "Okay, this happened, and let's not do it again."
Yeah.
So.
I mean, technically at the time you were clinically dead, so
Yeah,
you
that's
wouldn't feel those things in the
Yeah.
moment. But later, unfortunately, Russ, you did such a great job with compressions. You didn't actually break any ribs.
Nothing was broken. Which I heard you should have broke something, but
there was a crunch, but I'm not really sure.
well, I do crack
Rice
a little bit.
Krispies.
I crack a little bit. You did not break anything. They checked. There was no breaking.
Oh, good.
It wasn't until the doctor actually, used a saw to break me open later, like a week later.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was good.
Wow.
So
Yeah. So just real quick, because we're on the topic of that quick shock and back. Denise, your coworkers, I believe it was Teresa, had a special shirt made for you. Can you tell the viewers and the people on
you see
air
it?
what it says?
and I'm back.
So for those who are listening on one of the podcast platforms, it says and then there's VFib,
Yes.
and then a heart, and
Yes.
then a normal sinus rhythm, and that's where it says I'm back. It is perfect, Teresa. Well done.
Well
I
done.
think there are more memes to come. Over time?
I have quite a few, and I love
Yeah.
them all. I do
Absolutely.
love them all. So
So Captain Jim Bushman rode with you to the hospital twice. So
Yes.
talk about that.
well, they made me go to the hospital.
Right.
Go figure.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to take you to the
Those
hospital,
people.
and okay. I had he accompanied me to the hospital, and they actually hung out for a little bit while I got situated there, and then I did need to be transferred down to Banner University down
Right.
in Phoenix, and I needed a ride down there, and he actually escorted me there also. So
Absolutely. And I think it was in one of our rescues
It
that's
was.
being leased by Priority. So it was under the CON for Priority. We
Yes.
were good to take the transfer.
yes, the priority driver did a fantastic job.
And one thing I would like to point out with Chief Rose again, after he did talk to Mel, I believe, did he go pick Mel up and take him to the hospital, or did he just meet him there? I can't remember.
You mean
You wouldn't remember.
you mean up here?
Yeah, up here.
I don't know.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
know
sorry.
Cody went directly
There was a
there.
little bit of time there I don't know about. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
I think Mel did drive there because it's like 10 minutes from our house.
Right. Yeah.
Just down the street.
And Cody would have been coming from Carta.
Yeah.
So you did your thing, Russ. Now, I want to point out, because your husband said this at the hospital, and I thought it was perfect, and I've used it several times. He said, most people see Jesus when this happens to him.
Mm-hmm.
Denise saw Russ.
I did.
No correlation.
And we're not comparing Russ to Jesus. However, I would prefer to see Russ. I love Jesus, don't get me wrong. Very happy with him.
I would have been
But
confused either way,
Seeing
to tell
Russ,
you the truth.
seeing Russ means that I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would much prefer to see Russ. And not long after that, I mean, what was it, a week later, you saved 3 people in one day, you and your crew?
Yeah, my
Yeah,
crew, we had
I heard about
several
that.
pretty significant calls in a short period of time there. And that whole month was
A little
kind of
rough.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if I have a problem, Russ is a medic that I would love to see.
Well, and on the note of significant calls, I've run my fair share of cardiac arrests, more than I can count, far more. It's a pretty regular thing. In fact, we just had one the other morning. The outcome that you had is atypical.
Yes, very rare.
And the only thing, because I have thought a lot about.
I'm young. That's why. It's because I have youth.
That's the biggest part.
Yeah, and you're healthy. I mean, you're a healthy, active
yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And that does help. I've thought a lot about what had occurred, and of all the cardiac arrests I've run, I'm very thankful that this one turned out that way, right? Because obviously we had all the families,
Right.
kids,
Yeah.
and everybody witnessing what was transpiring. But the takeaway that I have from this event specifically was the other codes that we run, by the time we get to someone's house, there are minutes that have transpired. Or to the event, right? By the time we get an IV, minutes have transpired. The med's on board. There's too much time in between.
Right.
So it was the quick recognition, of, by those around you that day that attributed to the outcome, but also, like you were alluding to with the AEDs, the fact that compressions were started right away, the AED, that's the only thing I contribute your success to by comparison.
Right.
Because I've had other cardiac arrests where we've gotten pulses back, they get to the hospital. Sometimes they get discharged, sometimes
Right.
they don't. But I've never once had one like this where you were talking within
Right away, yeah.
Right away,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and in our case, you actually used one of our 12-lead monitors,
Yes.
right? So we use that here, but in the field, not in the field, but if you're out in the community and you're at a place where someone goes into sudden cardiac arrest and they do have an AED, it provides the exact same shock that our 12 lead EKGs do. And so, again, we can't overstate the importance of, one, community CPR, which includes knowing how to operate an AED and being conscious of where they are if someone goes into cardiac arrest when you're out in the community, because those precious seconds are what really counted in your situation, right? So if somebody goes into cardiac arrest at Findlay Toyota Center, it's going to take our crew 5-6 minutes to get there from the time the 911 call is made.
Right.
Those precious minutes, the outcome could have been very different for you.
Yeah.
So if someone there witnesses someone going cardiac arrest in Findlay Toyota Center and they start CPR right away and somebody grabs an AED, and you have a good chance, or at least a better chance, than waiting just for our crews to get there.
Exactly.
Important to activate 911, but you are a perfect example. And you were talking about being shopping for your Apple Watch that day. Had you missed the gift wrapping and you gone into cardiac arrest at Walmart or at
Target.
home, Target, or if you were out on one of your hikes or kayaking, the outcome would have been very different. So that's why I thought it was nice for you to share all the different things that led up to you all being in the same place at the same time.
And I do the moonlight or the full moon kayaking on Watson.
Okay.
And I think I want to say it was in October, maybe. I don't remember if their last one was October or November. Out on the lake in my little kayak, and it was windy and there was waves, there's wakes. And I didn't have, like I said, no symptoms, no nothing. I am very active. And in my head, I keep thinking I was on the water just a month and a half before that. That could have happened on the water.
Right.
And, you start thinking of all these things that could have happened and where. So now I'm one of those people that I walk into a store and I go, where's the bathroom and where's the AED? I look for signs now just because.
That's a really good takeaway too, because for just the general public out there, what I'd like to impress out of today is, we had Captain Smith there, myself there, Cammie Hubler. We all work very well together as a team. And my wife even commented about that. She said it was crazy to see how quickly we went from laughing and joking to work mode and taking care of someone. And the general public, what I would like to impress, if nothing else, is don't be afraid to act. Those AEDs that are on the wall, anyone can use those. They cannot hurt someone. They recognize the rhythm, and they will only shock if the rhythm is a shockable rhythm.
And they tell you when to start CPR again, and they give you a rhythm. Like they're almost no-brainers. If you have that in your possession, you don't have to really think. You have something that is coaching you through the event, really. I mean,
absolutely.
Because I have the training. I took our training because we offer training monthly.
Yes. Yes, we do.
So was that before or after?
I had it, I'm trying to think. I think I had it in last April. I think.
Okay.
But I've had it for years and years, so I always renew. So
it's interesting because when we first implemented the policy where everyone in admin had to learn CPR, community CPR, right? There was some question about, well, why do I need to know that? And it's, well, we're basically the fire department only in administration. Sometimes people stop here, but think about had you gone into cardiac arrest at administration, surrounded by teams of people who have been trained to use it. Now, after that incident, they were all like, "Oh my God, we need to go through this again."
Right.
We've done
Good reminder.
this. And here's something that a lot of people don't think about when you're doing AED training, right? So you do the training, the AED is sitting right there with you, you're working with and all of that. But Suzanne and Kathy had said, we've never actually had to take it from where it's home. Never had to open the door, get it out.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I think we need to incorporate going forward in the CPR classes that we do is, hey, here's the cabinet that you're going to find the AED in. Here's how you actually remove it from there. Because people think, I know some of you out there are probably thinking, well, duh, you just open the door.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you're in that flight or fight mode, sometimes the simplest tasks become almost impossible.
Right.
So the more repetition and practice you have in opening that up and pulling the AED out, and even without the class, just in between, pull it out, refamiliarize yourself with it, and then put it back.
I was a Girl Scout leader a million years ago, so I had to be certified with CPR, and I always concentrated on the CPR. I was like, that aid, I don't know about that machine. And then I have learned, since I've learned more about it, the machine it just does so much for you. And you were talking about the fight or flight. Probably the first 3 days I was in the hospital, I kept in my head anytime it was, and I still don't know why I was doing it, but right before I would go to sleep, I would go, somebody just went down, call 911. I mean, I was going through all the steps, and I did it for about 3 or 4 days. I kept doing it. I go, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I think I was trying to get back some of the control because, I was sleeping while you were doing that.
Yeah.
So
Yes, you were.
You were trying to process
I said sleeping. I was dead. I was mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
I watched Princess Bride this weekend. So,
well, Denise, walk us through the hospital and ultimately you getting out of the hospital. What was that like? Because they were trying to figure out, why did this happen?
Yeah. So I was born defective. I had a heart murmur when I was born. And it's just never been a problem, ever. And apparently at some point it became a problem. And that's why I never thought about when they were telling me about it was my mitral valve.
Right.
And they were telling me about it, I was like, I don't even know what that is. They had to draw pictures for me on the board. And when I went to the hospital right away up here in Prescott, the cardiac doctor that was on,
Excuse me.
She lectured me. Very, very good doctor, but she lectured me. She said, you have a problem with your valve. You need to get it fixed. And she sent me down south to Banner University Hospital. And they got there and they did a bunch of tests. And I was telling you earlier, I had conflicting, like the V-fibs from your valve. And then another one has nothing to do with your valve. So I don't know how they relate. I just know that led to them doing tests on me, which found the valve thing. And so to stop me, so you don't have to follow me around anymore, I do have a pacemaker defibrillator, so I can be zapped. It'll zap me.
Right.
And then I had that put in on the 7th. And then right before I was going home, they did one more test. And they said, oh, by the way, we're going to give you open heart surgery. So I had that. I got to stay and had that done. And they fixed my valve. And it's all my valve. They didn't put anything new in. So.
Oh, nice.
So it's all still original hardware.
It's all original equipment.
Factory.
Yeah,
it's still
factory.
I mean, I'm sorry. I do have new hardware, but the heart is factory still.
It's like a resto mod.
A what?
A resto mod with a car. You've taken a vehicle that doesn't have the modern equipment on it, a classic car, and you add the modern equipment to it.
Classic.
And you make it, you make it drive and handle and perform like a brand new car.
Yeah, and yes, it is working well. My heart is good.
Hey, and I had to think very quickly there.
That was good. That was really good.
How am I going to explain this? Because I put it out there. I can't take it back.
I am more physically fit now, so I could probably take you.
So, are you cleared to drive yet?
I got to sit in the front seat on Friday. I'm very excited because they cracked my chest open. I couldn't sit where an airbag was because, if it went off, it would crack me open again.
Which would be bad.
Yeah, I'm about 90% now.
Okay.
But I don't have any pain, really. And I drove to work Monday and today. So excited.
Which you're pretty excited about because your chauffeur,
yes,
it doesn't drive quite like you do.
No, he's a very, very good driver, very conservative, speed limits and all that.
Former law enforcement.
Yeah.
So we expect.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think going forward, when we have CPR classes at work, whether it's for our staff or if you happen to be around and we're providing a community CPR class, people from the community, you say, why do this? And we just go, Denise.
Because
Denise.
I'm back.
She's back. So any other thoughts that you have to drive home the point of AEDs, CPR, or just the relationship here? First time you got to see her since the incident back in December, and we're in late February at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
thoughts?
now I did put your engine on the Christmas card 2 years ago.
That was you.
That was me.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
That was me. So I'm like, okay, so we're even now, right?
Yeah.
We're completely even. There we go.
Yeah.
See, because
It's all set.
yeah. So yeah, the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway, like I said earlier, AED it's a game changer.
Right.
You know, it's really important. It's important for everyone around you to know how to do it. You can't rely, although we have good response times, it could take too long for someone to get there. You know, you have to have someone who, I was going to ask you, who put in my line?
I did.
Okay. No. It lasted longer than the one that they put in the ER.
Oh, really?
Yeah, up in Prescott, and they put some really heavy duty drugs. I had the one you put in,
Yeah.
and then I had the one they did at the hospital, and they had to keep switching drugs. And this one lasted 2 days longer than,
right on.
and actually they,
Look at you go.
yeah, and when they took it out, they said, "Oh, this is still really good, but we do need to change one." They wanted to give me a new vein.
Oh,
But-
okay.
But so good on you.
All right.
Well
Good
done,
job.
Russ.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good with the heart thing too, but you know the IV.
The IV was great.
The IV was awesome.
Sitting here talking to me, it's pretty awesome to see that you're healthy and you're happy. And
I'm just
you're
glad you
joking
weren't,
and-
you weren't me. That was funny.
No, that's
Yeah.
really what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and actually,
So you say,
we do have security camera footage of it that we're not sharing with anyone.
yeah,
but
not
it
even
was-
me, huh?
It was no, you could see it if you
Oh,
want
I
to.
can't. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna see.
But we're not adding it to the YouTube channel or
No,
anything.
no.
But it apparently all of it was captured on film, which is pretty interesting. And clearly, we want to thank everybody that was there that day.
That'll be part of your review.
Captain Smith, Firefighter Hubler, Charlotte, everybody that was there. Chief Rose for whatever he did. He's a chief officer now. We don't really do much, but
I think the big takeaways for me, Chief, are just we do run on cardiac arrest pretty frequently, and a lot of the times we'll get there and the families have not started compressions. There hasn't been any intervention to the point we
Right.
got there. And so for me, like I said before, is just don't be afraid to act.
Yes.
If nothing else, you can start, recognize that they don't have a pulse, start compressions. And if that's all you do, that's better than nothing.
Right.
If you can find an AED, obviously throw the pads on. It's not that hard. Follow the prompts. They're very easy to use. They will not hurt you. They'll only help you.
And really, they're already. I don't want to be morbid, but they're already dead. So you're helping them.
yes.
Right.
You know, I
Yes.
mean, I kid about that, and I have asked many people, was I really dead? And the answer I get from everybody is, yeah.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's better to act,
Definitely. That's the only thing I can attribute the success of this because our crews are out there
And
doing it
my
on a regular
youth.
basis. And I think
Yes, your youth.
the saves,
And my youth.
the saves that they've had have probably been along the same lines.
Yeah.
And I can't impress that enough amongst the people out there watching. Just to act quickly and don't be afraid to act.
Absolutely. And if you're having chest pains, don't wait to call 911 thinking it may go away. I know there's a lot of folks out there, and I've run on them myself, or I've found them in the ER checking themselves in, and then they go into cardiac arrest at the desk, and I'm like, why? When they're come to again, why did you not call? I didn't want to bother you, right? We do get a lot of non-urgent calls, but there's a group of people out there who will be suffering a heart attack and decide, I'm just going to drive myself in because I don't want to bother the firefighters and EMS crews out there. Please.
I did
Please
that
make
at the
the call.
table. I didn't want to bother anyone. I'll just put my head down.
Yeah.
I probably maybe 45 seconds before that, maybe a minute before that, I could tell I was going to black out. Should I have maybe asked for help? Probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably. Probably would have been good.
Fortunately, he was just like across the aisle
He was, yeah.
from you. Next table over.
Yeah.
Very close. Response times were fantastic.
Yeah, really good on that. Really good.
So I don't know if I told you this, but I walked in, I think it was that Monday morning, and I walked into admin, and the new person had just started, new admin specialist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we were so close to being fully staffed, and then Denise had to go and try to die on us.
Yeah. And then I died. Because I'm back now, and I'll say, well, when did that happen? Oh, that happened when you died. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that's basically.
I'm glad you
Good
did.
sense of humor.
Yeah.
Of course, they turned around to me that day, and they're like, too soon, Chief, too soon.
No,
But
it's
then they all
never
laughed.
too soon.
So,
Yeah.
because at that point they knew that you were in good hands at Banner. You had good care at YRMC before you went down. You had Captain Bushman with you, accompanying you on the trip down to Banner again.
Yeah.
There's so many people within this organization that we want to say thank you to. But Russ is the face you saw when
Yes.
you woke up, delivered the shock. It's great to have you two back together. I didn't realize that you hadn't.
No.
Seen each
yeah,
other.
I haven't bothered you.
No, you're not about
And he hasn't come by admin, so.
Well, and Russ, I have pointed out to staff, I'm like, listen, so Denise now carries her own defibrillator with her. If she screams and her arms start flopping, you need to call 911
Yes,
Copy that.
right away.
definitely. Yeah.
So, we have the information out there. We're continually educating. And Denise is just a great example. It's so glad that you made it, that you're back with us.
People have told me I'm lucky. I think that might have been a little bit of it, but mostly it was having good people around me.
Yeah.
I mean, I had excellent from the time I flopped, and that's what I call it, when I flopped.
When I flopped.
From the time I flopped, I just had really excellent care. So good job.
Thank you.
I think the other part of this too that we want to point out is a healthy lifestyle. I mean, you're active.
I eat a lot of sugar.
Yeah, but you're active.
Yeah.
You do a lot to keep moving, and constant movement is what
I
you
have
to do.
tried. I know I'm probably flip-flopping around. I flutter like a butterfly.
Yeah. But, it's important to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Nobody's going to be perfect in their diet, but you certainly are an example of somebody that is healthy, so this can happen to healthy people.
Yeah.
But being healthy and timing and everything being where it was contributed to you being here today.
Yeah.
And I think
And
that's important.
it's Heart Month.
Right.
So, so this is a good month to have that doctor's appointment, get your heart checked. When you get to be still youthful, but a certain age, you should have your heart checked, even if you're not having any symptoms,
Yeah, don't ignore the signs. That we run on patients pretty frequently, and I use my dad as an example. He's a logger and very active and healthy, and he was up a tree and topping a tree and felt some of the symptoms, but kind of disregarded it for a period of time, and then went into the fire department. They didn't see anything,
Right.
which is not. That's not uncommon.
Right.
People walk in the station or run these calls and we're not seeing anything. Your blood pressure looks good. Your oxygen saturation looks good. The EKG and 12 lead, which is the electrical activity in
Right.
your heart, that all looks good. But with that said, that doesn't mean there isn't something else going on, because we're limited with the tools that we have. And so the way that I explain it is I say, even my dad, who at face value, it didn't seem like anything was wrong. He had symptoms, and he was ignoring those symptoms for a period of time. He finally got into the hospital. They checked his troponin levels, which were elevated, and found he was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And ended up having to have a stent. So that's what I try to impress upon our patients. Don't wait, like you had said.
Yeah.
6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, because at that point the damage is done to the heart muscle. If you're feeling that chest pain, that's because your heart's not getting oxygen.
Right.
And your heart's a muscle like any other muscle in your body. So if it's not getting oxygen, it's dying.
Yeah, that's what my husband's
Right.
heart attack was. He actually had a full blockage. He had the Widowmaker. And the first paramedic that checked him, we were out hiking. We were on a trail. And the first paramedic that checked him said, and he was awake and talking in a lot of pain. But he said, I don't think you're having a heart attack. And so they took him to the hospital. They put him on is it an echo or whatever? They looked at him and they went, and that's when the doctor realized that really big artery that runs across the front wasn't there because he had a full blockage. So they went in real quick, did a stent.
Wow.
So that was not what I had.
Right.
I had my valve was prolapsed or something like
Yep.
that. So they fixed that. But completely different. That's why that's why when you told me what happened, I was like, I didn't have pain. There was
Right.
I've seen pain. I've seen a heart attack, you
Right.
know. But it was different because it wasn't a blockage.
Yeah.
It was VFib. Completely different animal.
Well, and as Russ said, there is a difference between the symptoms that a male patient will have and a female patient will have. But it's not always, and it's not never.
Right.
Right. So just be cognizant and try to keep yourself healthy. You know, put an AED in your car, carry it around. I don't know. Just be present. And if you haven't taken the community CPR, look it up on our website. We do offer
Monthly.
CPR classes monthly at CAFMA, and you can visit cazfire.gov to look up that information. I'd ask Kathy, but she doesn't have a microphone today, so she's sitting over there quietly. And this is the first time that she's just kind of let this go. Normally she's like, shut up, shut it down. Very forceful and mean.
I find that hard to believe.
I've been on the podcast before. It's true.
Is
Yeah.
it true? Oh, okay. Okay.
See? Well, I want to thank you both for coming in. Denise, thank you for being willing to share your story, because I think it's important for people in the community to hear it, and to see you and Russ connect again for the first time is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? This is an awesome
I'm happy to be
opportunity.
here and to
Yeah.
not be dead. So,
Well, and we're happy that you're not dead anymore, too.
yeah,
So,
anymore. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not dead anymore.
right.
But did you die?
But did you
But
die?
did you die?
Yes.
And your
Yes,
defibrillator's
actually,
Bluetooth.
yes, I did.
Yeah, you did, but not, for just a short time.
Yeah, it was
And then
real
you
short.
got to see Russ.
I did.
So,
I think there's only
With
one way
minimal pain. Minimal pain. So,
I think there's only one way to end this, and it's give me a big old hug. It's
Oh,
good to
okay.
see you. Glad to see you healthy.
thank you for being there. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it. Don't make me cry.
I won't.
hey, Kathy said she has tissues over there.
I brought tissues,
We're
but I
good.
didn't cry.
Yeah.
See?
Me either. I'm
Are you puddling?
Nope. Let's end this.
Well, thank you both very much. For everyone out there, please, if you haven't had a CPR class or you haven't had one in a while, please think about taking one, because it does make a difference. So until next week, be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you next Friday.